Hello, sisters, and good morning. And it's absolutely lovely for all of us to be together. I think every year we've always tried to hold a women's retreat. And so we felt we couldn't let this year go by without creating an opportunity for all of us to get together and share some beautiful space and insights and reflections together. I think with COVID and the whole pandemic, it's almost like the cyberspace has exploded. And so we've been very engaged online, but a lot of it has been, just hearing talks and lectures and getting inspired. But we thought we'd like to create an opportunity today that we have some space for interaction and sharing amongst us. So we're going to be experimenting today. So we're going to use the Zoom breakout rooms so that there'll be times when we will be in small groups. And during those small groups, we can actually reflect and share with each other. So I'm going to really encourage that it's really an opportunity for us today, and just to take the benefit of just being together and engaging and interacting. So welcome, and it's lovely to be with you. And I'm sure we're going to have a very special day together. I'm going to now invite Raksha to switch on her camera, and Raksha is going to lead us into the morning part of today of what we're hoping to achieve. Thank you. So come on, Raksha.
So thank you, Pratibha, and welcome everyone once again. It's really so beautiful to be in this gathering of women from all across Southern, and I think a few women from internationally. And so it's going to be a wonderful day together where we can delve deeply and have beautiful conversations and learn from each other. I know we had more than 100 that had registered. So in just giving them a little time, I'd like to just start off with a short relaxation. Oh, and I see somebody also from the Arabic region. So that's wonderful as well. So, so to start off with, I'd just like to do a short relaxation whilst we encourage others to join in this next minute or two. So if you could just sit comfortably in your seats, and to make yourself most comfortable wherever you may be, so that I can become fully present to enjoy the rest of the day. So as I'm seated here, I scan my entire body. And if there's any tension in any muscles of this body, I invite them to relax. This is my time. Today, I wish to be fully present in this moment and throughout the day, to step into a new dimension, to live life with wisdom and wonder. Taking a deep breath in, I breathe in peace, and breathing out, I let go of all the stale air in my lungs, of even the last moment. And I just settle myself in my chair. I relax the tiny, tiny muscles of these feet, my legs, my back, my spine. I straighten my spine, just filling these lungs with peace once again. As I breathe out, just relaxing my neck and shoulders, my scalp and face, my jaw. I am present. I am peace. And the peace just perfuses my entire being, my entire body. And I feel as if I'm in a bubble of peace and wisdom and wonder. Thank you. So welcome once again. And this topic is just so beautiful, living life with wisdom and wonder. And I've just been appreciating how really throughout the globe, and not just now during this time of challenge, but eternally and always, women have held the thread of humanity and the rich tapestry of many lives together, not just in the household, but also in their communities, as professionals. And this has required constant attention to recognize the specialities and the powers in others and to nurture and grow that. And so eternally, that effort to be wise, to dig deep, to delve within, and to find another solution. I just think about myself as a child growing up and up until this moment. I could always ask my mom, oh, what do you think I should do? No matter how many years you may progress in life, the woman is a wise one who can assess the full situation and from her deep experience, come forward with very wise advice to support you on your journey. And yet, a woman is also an example of a creative energy, the one that gives birth. And so, really, that creative energy, that wonder, if not balanced with the wisdom, does take its toll on the women. And so today is a day when we will look at that creative side so that we can emerge our own unique creativity. And so together we can then take this wisdom and this wonder to the world and to humanity. And it's always very precious when we have our women's retreats and when we have days like this, when collectively we can come together and hold a powerful energy, and our vibration then filters into the atmosphere, and collectively we rise to our own highest vibration. And so the aim today is to be very, very present, very still, quiet, absorbing, learning, growing, and collectively through this adult learning, we can learn from each other and develop new insights creatively and wisely, and emerge as a wise, wonderful woman. And so to begin today's session, we had invited each one of you to keep a candle at your side. And so I invite you now to get that candle close by with a candle lighter. And the aim to start off today's session is to choose an intention I want to hold, an aim I want to move forward with today. And as we all light our candles, I've created a little centerpiece on my right with a few candles for some of you, but each one of us will also individually light our own candle. And as we light this candle, can I choose an intention I want to carry with me, a vibration I want to amplify today deeply within this wise, wonderful woman? And so to take your lighter now and your candle, and to light this candle. And whilst we light this candle, we have a special artist that has especially done a song for our women today. And this artist is originally from KZN, born in Durban with a deep passion for music, Neo Morocco. And he developed his love for music, based on his relationships with his family members who were very interested vocalists. And thereafter, having this love for music, he joined an a cappella group in 1995, and that greatly influenced his life, such that in 2001, he received a scholarship to study in the USA, and he studied a degree in communication studies and theater, and he is currently a performing artist on SABC and in South Africa, and he continues to perform in the US at his alma mater and in many other opportunities that may arise for him. So as Neo sings and serenades all of you women with a beautiful song that he's chosen for us, can you light your candle and hold your intention deeply for the next 3 minutes as the song plays, so that I manifest that intention throughout the rest of today. So thank you. I invite you now to light your candle whilst I do this.
Yeah, just an invitation as well. If everyone could switch your cameras on, so we'll be in a lovely gallery mode, and we can actually see each one as we're lighting our candles and just connect visually as well. Beautiful. This is a famous song that everyone from South Africa will know, celebrating the strength of women.
Malibongwe, 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 igama lamakhosikazima. Libongwe, igama lamakhosikazima. Libongwe, malibongwe, 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 malibongwe. Malibongwe, 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 malibongwe.
So thank you all. So it would be wonderful It was really very precious to see the gallery view of all of you ladies. And it would be wonderful now if you could share your intention. If you can unmute yourselves and share your intention for the day. And if not sharing it orderly, if you could then share your intention by writing it on the chat. So feel free now to unmute and share your intention with the group. Or you can also open up your video so we can see you as you share.
Can I go first?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Leslie Ann Foster, and two things came to mind in my intention. The one was to forgive and to let go of anything negative that I'm holding on to. Forgive and let go. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie Ann. So wonderful intention for the day, to forgive and let go. I see Busi. Linda has also shared patience and kindness towards myself. And Paula Nampuno, wish for well-being, health, and fulfillment of my life projects.
Rakshai?
Yes.
It's Rehana. Sorry, I'm not sure. I'm getting a message when I'm trying to share my video that the host has stopped me from sharing the video, but I'd like to...
Yes, if the host can, if we can allow the video to be shared.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Rakshai. Just to say that I actually only received the invitation through Sister Dipti to this session about an hour ago, but it couldn't have come at a better time because it's just come in the midst of immense difficulty. And so my intention is really for guidance, for healing beyond myself.
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Susie, and my intention is really about gratitude for groups like this that we now have the privilege to take part in, and deep compassion for everything everybody's going through and the support we're giving each other and the love we're sharing. So thank you. Tracy.
Thank you. So as we can see, really a day that's much needed by everyone, and collectively how we make that difference. And we're not alone. There's an amazing circle of women doing wonderful things, and this day has allowed us to connect with all of those women. There's a lot coming up, and I want to read some of them. So from the Arabs, accepting diversity and appreciating differences, deep listening and compassion. And another, Paula, bring more peace and trust in my life and to those in my life as well. That was from Margot. I think there's a collective group that's joining us as well. And Jackie, to share acceptance and love. Rohini, to share my voice with all women all over the world. Lindelwa, to relax and spread love to all I interact with for the day. Brinda, my intention is to nourish my body, mind, and soul, and treat my body as my temple. Hetty, light into the world and light for everyone in this group. Iris, to have unconditional love for all souls, no matter what. And Valencia, to be true to myself and others, speak my truth, show love, compassion, humility always. And Paula Musulu, acceptance of all that is, trust in all that comes from the divine power, non-judgment, forgiveness of all that I may not necessarily agree with. And all those, sorry, my pronunciation may be very bad. So may I be connected with my creative feminine power from within. And another wish, another from Paula, wish for well-being, health, and fulfillment of my life's projects. And I think there's more at the bottom. And Wezi, I have 3 intentions: to accept, let go, love my body and my soul, be part of a greater existence, and open myself to life. Tilo, to be whole, to integrate all my roles in life with balance and completeness. Shanti, to awaken creativity and wisdom within myself, with each other. Nadia, the word amplify spoke to me when mentioned earlier. I would like to amplify my feminine side, looking forward to opening myself emotionally enough to become a mom. And Zoliswa, hi ladies, my intention is to strengthen my self-trust, self-compassion, ability to access my innate powers. Taveshni, to forgive and be kind to myself, to let go of the things that are not in my control. And Jagjit, everyone is right in their own way. Gratitude to everything. So it's really so powerful just reading through that list and just feeling your purest intention, which is of such highest vibration and quality. And really one can see everyone is deeply wanting to open themselves up to the greatest within themselves and to offer that to the healing and the wholeness of the whole world. And so thank you. And whoever would want to open up your video and share your intention so we can see your face as you share it, you're most welcome. Does anyone else wants to share their intention? And another is Aruna. My intention is to be determined and loving to all and to live my highest qualities. So it's lovely. I can see a room of women, Sylvia, in the gallery. So that's also great. So we're not just each one individually in our spaces, but I can see there's also a room of women that have gathered in one of our spaces. So thank you. Any other hopes and aims for today that you would want to share? Today is really going to be a day when we can learn from our wonderful guests, but also in our conversations to learn from the depth of the wisdom of our colleagues and all of us in the group. So it will be a day where through deep reflection and through our own personal experiences, we can share and also appreciate our own journeys, but share the richness of ourselves and the whole of ourselves with others in our small groups. And thereafter, in the afternoon, we will have an opportunity to amplify that understanding with to amplify that understanding through creativity, so that we can stamp it in our awareness, so to be able to then be wise, wonderful women. So I can see that Chrissy is on, and it's such a pleasure today to have Christine Mahoney with us. And I myself had met Chrissy in 2013, and I had had a conversation with her, and that conversation was a catalyst to deep self-empowerment and deep self-change and new steps in my life that created that was a catalyst for a very new individual that emerged. And so I'm very happy to be able to give the return of that by introducing her today. And so Christine Mahoney has had a lifelong interest in people, and that's what one deeply appreciates. Her patience and her time and her care to deeply understand people and then celebrate the stories that come from their individual journeys. She has studied to be a professional actor at the National Institute of Dramatic Art in Sydney and worked in theatre, film, and TV. With a long and successful career in the performing arts, Chrissy has also worked in the area of organizational change and innovation. With decades of studying the human spirit and a determination to understand why we fight and hurt each other, Chrissy studied for her master's degree in conflict resolution and mediation. She encourages people to empower themselves and develop their creative side and engage in processes of healing and self-awareness. She also continues to pursue spiritual wisdom and investigate the individual and collective power. She is committed to assisting individuals and communities to develop a greater connection with their authentic selves and discover what their valued contribution can be. Chrissy has been facilitating workshops with women for a number of years and believes we are all extraordinary in our own right. And there's always much more to us than meets the eye. So really a pleasure to have Chrissy, this creative, deep, wise woman with us, who has been a catalyst for change in the lives of many women. Her love, her joy, her humility, and her deep wisdom will really take us through this morning. And so welcome, Chrissy, all the way from Sydney. And I know it's the evening there. So we have you on now. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thanks. Like I sound like such an interesting person. I sound quite amazing. I kind of thought, oh my goodness, we should have sat down with a cup of tea. I'm sorry to have put you through such a long biography. Well, I suppose, I'm older now, and, that's what a long life brings. But anyway, I'd really like to thank dear Pratibha and Raksha for inviting me here. And it's great to be with you all from Melbourne, Australia. I have to say, we've had shocking storms here today. We're just at the tail end of winter, and it has been very big storms and rain, heavy rain, and we have a tin roof. So I've got my headphones here in case it starts again and you can't hear anything. Unless you're experts in lip reading, I'd have to do that. So I just wish I could be in a room with you all and instead of little boxes of little faces. And I wonder who you are and where you are, and isn't life extraordinary that it's brought us together like this, all of us. This is one of the beautiful things about the moment that we're living in. I mean, I'm here in lockdown 4 Melbourne. We're all wearing masks and having an 8 o'clock at night curfew, and people are struggling. This is our 3rd attempt at a lockdown, and so, but look at this wonderful, you're here in my house and I'm here in yours, and without all of this, so life is quite extraordinary, isn't it? How it can turn us into, from adversity, we can find something wonderful. It just depends on where we look and how we look. So I'm going to speak for about half an hour, and then I'd like to hear, let's have a conversation. Any questions, any comments, any observations you might have, because although I'm here as a guest, I'm not an expert. I'm just like you. I'm on a journey and I'm finding my way through this life, and the pages turn on the book of our life in unexpected ways sometimes, and sometimes we don't get the chance to sit down and read where we've come from and all that we've achieved. We're too busy facing what's in front of us. And so I'm not here as an expert. I'm here to share my story or to give some of my insights, and I know all of you have your own deep innate wisdom, and that must never ever be underestimated. It's an interesting journey, a life, and it's almost an alchemical experience, I find, because it's the process of turning adversity into something very precious. That's what I was even saying about this COVID virus that we're all facing and the consequences of it. But with it, there also comes great experiences, great opportunities like this Zoom opportunity, meet people that you normally never would meet. And so the alchemy of life is quite an amazing process where we turn sort of rubbish stuff into gold. And that's the legacy that we leave. That's the inspiration that we give to our fellow journey companions on this road, our families, the children in our family, our friends. And but it takes courage sometimes. Life can be very harsh, and it takes courage. And I was thinking about this word courage during the week, and I thought, what does it actually mean? And it's now become a word that we use for bravery, when we're brave, when we're, when we have the strength to face something. We're called, gee, you have so much courage. And it's a quality that we really need in this ever-changing, unpredictable world that we're in. But the origins of courage, the core, C-O-U-R of courage, is basically the origins are heart. And courage was once considered to be when you spoke your mind, your needs, your thoughts from a place in your heart. And I think we've forgotten that. I think we're a little afraid to speak from our heart because of the repercussions that it might bring. And so we've quietened our heart down. With circumstances of life can make our heart quite small and inaccessible. And it's often small people that have made our heart small. It's the great people of this world that we encounter, the ones that want the best for you and want the best for humanity in this world, usually have a much bigger heart and encourage a bigger heart in us. And what that is courage, coming from the heart. What a beautiful place to live in this world and live our lives from from the heart space, the all-knowing, the center of wisdom and all-knowing. That heart space, the voice from the heart will tell me who I am and how to protect myself and congratulate myself when I've had achievements and victories. But you know, and wisdom can come from that. But I remember when I was a small child, I don't know where I found this word wisdom, but maybe it was because I was always drawn to old people. I loved old people. I loved to be in their company. And every Sunday for some years, I used to go and visit an old people's home and sit with them and hear their stories. And I loved learning from them, from their wisdoms, really. And I thought, when I grow up, I'd like to be filled with understanding and wisdom. And it carried with me for a lot of my life. And I think what it did was allowed me to make choices of how I responded to situations in my life. Because, you know, I had some very challenging experiences when I was quite young. And I just thought, I used to think, oh, this is awful, or this is, you know, painful, this is difficult, but what can I learn from it? How can I was determined for it to make me stronger and not weaker. And so I always thought, when I get older, I'd like to be filled with wisdom and understanding. I'd like to be a really interesting old person, not a kind of an old whinge bag that nobody wanted to know. So I always kind of converted difficult situations into a situation of learning. And I think that's what gradually nurtured the seed of wisdom, because it was an intent in me as a small person. And I think our intention carries us into a consequence or a result, depending on our intention. So all of you have come here to this retreat with an intention. You're curious, you want to learn, you want to express yourself, you want to hear the expression of others. So that intent is going to bring you an outcome. But it has already, just the fact that you're here, you know, is already bringing you an outcome. So you know that you are already wise and wonderful women, but what we're here for is to realize it. You're already it. You're finding opportunities to remember and remind yourself that this is who you are and this is what you are. But it is a journey, and it's sometimes 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But sometimes for some reason, we remember the 1 step back and forget the other one that's taken us further forward. And the self-critic I've often observed, especially in my work, because to be an actor, and it's an unfortunate terminology really, because I always felt that as an actor, as a professional, that my job was to serve humanity through the arts, through the performing arts, and hopefully help people to understand themselves and each other a little better. And but it's a vulnerable life as an artist, because it's so important that for your survival that people like the work that you do or what you're offering. But I had to really rebuild my sense of self-esteem through the effects of working in that profession, where I would turn up at an audition or want a job and have an attitude of I can be anything you want. You tell me what you want and I can be it. I wanted the job and I desperately wanted them to accept me. So I traded myself in, really. I traded myself in to try and be what others wanted me to be or thought I should be. And I realized after one very humiliating audition, when I walked away, I thought, you know, wouldn't it be great if I could go into one of these situations and stand there and say, well, this is who I am and this is what I offer. If it suits you, fine. If it doesn't, you know, I take it elsewhere. But I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of my younger years really trying to be what I thought other people wanted me to be. Maybe it started with parents. Maybe it started with friends when, you know, as a young person, because so many tendencies, so many habits, so many identities begin at a very young age, when our survival depended on our parents liking us, our friends liking us, or wanting to have you around, and so on through our life, to the person that we chose to love, to marry, to have children with, or set up house with, always generally trying to compromise to fit in, to, and this is a generalization. You might be going, oh, I was never like that. And hopefully you were naturally full of self-respect, self-esteem, and you were able to stand up to whoever tried to put you down and turn you into someone that you weren't. Well, I think that I really have such great admiration for you, because it's been a bit of a journey for myself. And to always say to myself in my older years, I'm okay. I'll always be okay as long as I've got myself and I have the self-respect that I can honor my own needs. And that's where the alchemy comes in. It was a turning of an attitude, an approach, and an intention. And it doesn't just happen overnight. It's something that I've worked on consciously, choices that I've made. And some people will say life isn't about choices, and there are circumstances that come to us that are beyond our choice. But in my experience, I believe that it's how you deal with what comes to you, even if you had no choice in it. How you manage yourself in that situation comes down to what you choose, how you choose. Sometimes we have to put a buffer between the circumstances, the situation I'm confronted by, and how I respond to it. So we put a buffer or a pause, like pause the video and reevaluate, recenter, realign with myself. Situation happened to me once when I first went to drama school, which was the National Institute in Sydney, and I had to move up from Melbourne. First time away from home in my late teens, really only known school. And I went up to live in Sydney, and I shared a flat with a girlfriend that I'd known at school, and she was in the year ahead of me in drama school. And one particular night I woke up because I couldn't breathe, and there was a very large hand over my face, sort of like this, and pushing into my face. And this person was trying to finish my life, basically, had come in through the window and was trying to murder me. And I couldn't breathe, I couldn't fight, I couldn't do anything because of the strength of this person. And I remember the life force in me, like the last breath I had, I managed to free my lower jaw, and I bit him with all my strength. And you know, apparently the specialist said later that I probably bit right through the bone with the force to survive. But I remember in the dark seeing this figure running through the bedroom door, this shadow. And in that moment, I made a pact with myself that this person was not going to ruin my life, that this person didn't deserve the right to ruin my life and make me live a fearful, belittled, victimized existence. And I'm really grateful to myself that I made that pact in that moment. Okay, I suffered the consequences of it. I I was traumatized. I went through all of those things. And the girl I was sharing with was highly traumatized because she didn't make a pact with herself, and it's since had a long effect on her life. Really inappropriate marriages just because she was too afraid to live alone. And but I kept trying to encourage myself to have that courage, really have that self-care from my heart, that I was always going to be there for myself no matter what circumstances I found myself in. And, you know, I was living alone a couple of times, once in when I was working for a state theatre company and somewhere else. And I remember waking up in the night one night and thinking I heard a noise, and I got so paralyzed with fear, I couldn't move. And I thought, I have to get up and see what that noise is. And is it someone coming in again and going to try and take my life? And I broke out in a sweat. But I found this strength in me, which is in all of us, I believe, but it's how we access it, if we believe it's there or not. There's lots of barriers to accessing it, but I felt I had to access it in this moment. And I got myself somehow up off the bed, and one step at a time, I just thought if I put one step in front of the other and get to the door and turn the light on, that's one achievement. Then I came out into the hallway and I gradually turned lights on as I went and listened and turned another light on. I was in terror, but the terror wasn't as great as my determination to overcome the experience that this person had placed on my life uninvited. Anyway, I went through the house, turned all the lights on, checked behind doors, checked everything. There was nothing. It was my imagination, or it was a noise outside, but it gave me so much courage. And the courage that I sort of felt I had found, okay, maybe call it bravery, but it was me taking care of myself, really from a deep heart space. And I think probably that practicing that, because it's happened a couple of times since, now I can live on my own, I can be in a dark place on my own, I can go where angels fear to tread, and I know I'll be okay. And so, but it's taken practice. And because that night when I saw this shadow disappear through the bedroom door, I really thought, this person doesn't have the right to affect my life for all time. And I've looked at people since as they're trying to diminish my life to some degree, either through a kind of a bullying, sometimes psychological bullying, or just kind of like trying to bring me down. I watch and I observe it more and than I used to. I used to be so affected by it, I didn't know. I used to have a little inner panic. But now I kind of have become more the observer, and I watch and I think, okay, how do I want to respond here? And if I feel I'm losing, getting too emotional about something, I'll try and put the pause button on. And I remember even being in an argument with someone, and it was getting so heightened and heated. I didn't know what we were arguing about anymore. And I remember saying, can we just put the pause button on here for a moment? Because I don't know what we're talking about anymore. And suddenly, just by saying that and putting that hiatus into that moment where we could just suddenly let go of the direction that the crazy horse was running in, we could then make a choice and try and sort this out. But it has taken practice, and I've since come to understand the importance of kindness. This is a really it's a word we know, and it's like love. We know the word love, but do we really understand what it is when it comes to the self and the critic that wants to diminish the self, just like that person did who came into my life that night, who wanted to take my life or diminish my life? But what about what I do to myself? And and what I let myself get away with. I wouldn't let any friend or anyone in my life get away with the way I treat myself sometimes. There's things I would say to myself, oh, you idiot, just stupid. Look, you know, what else did you expect? Or just punishing the self. So kindness to the self and the deep wisdom I can bring to my responses and the effect life is having on me allows me to be a little kinder on my journey through this world, to others, to nature, to circumstances, to the way other people are, the way they find themselves. It gives me a sense of empathy and kindness and compassion. There's this word that we hear a lot now too about compassion. I think it's kindness, self-kindness. We say self-compassion. And I even went off and did a course in it, because when I don't understand something, I try to go and learn about it. That's why I went off to learn about conflict resolution and studied that, because I had a situation in my family that I just didn't understand why this person was hurting me so much and why we hurt each other so much. So I went off to learn about it. Same as compassion. I've always had an abundance of compassion for other people, for this world, for caring for people. But I parked myself, and I just got the crumbs, the leftovers of what other people didn't want. If they're all compassioned out or, you know, all cared for, oh, that's enough now, leave me alone. I got the crumbs, perhaps. And so I went off and learned about self-compassion. There's wonderful, wonderful material out there if you're interested in developing some self-compassion, or what I like to sort of see it as self-kindness for the self. And to really, really learn to feel I'm okay in this world. I'm okay with myself. I remember they were teaching us that if you're starting to feel panicky, or you're starting to feel life is out of control, or this person has more control over me, to put one hand somewhere comfortable. They often suggested one hand on your heart, one hand on your stomach or solar plexus, and say, I am safe, I am loved, I am protected. I am safe, I am loved, I am protected. And it's quite extraordinary, the effect that it can have on soothing the beating heart and soothe the soul. And I think self-compassion has really been put to one side as women. I think we are so caring and nurturing by gender, by breed, by social conditioning, by all our hormones and our makeup. It's just a tendency that we revert to, is nurturing and caring, until our heart is so shut down by life, by the smaller minds in this world that shut us down and break our hearts and disappoint us and make our life a struggle. Then what we do is we start to not love or care or nurture others so much. And I remember feeling a bit over it myself at one stage. And I said to myself, Chrissy, if you can't do this with love or from your heart, don't do it. If there's resentment there, if there's anger there, if there's any kind of negative thoughts, better you don't do it. And so when I found myself doing it more from a place of love and nurturing, and I was doing it out of my own gratification as well, that I enjoyed doing this, then it was easy. And I wasn't waiting for the crumbs or the the acknowledgement from someone else that didn't have the capacity to acknowledge, or didn't have the capacity to give me back in return of what I was giving. I was nurturing myself by being a nurturer. And when I didn't want to and I didn't feel it was right, I pulled back. And it's amazing how when I developed that self-care that led to a kind of a respect for my own needs and my own journey, then circumstances around me started to change. When I always responded in the same way, I always got the same response back to me. It's just with the give and take became a pattern, and I would react in the moment, and so there's an amazing array out there on the internet, in books, people that we meet. There is so much wisdom. There is so much information. There is so much opportunities, choices to shop around and find amazing wisdom for our life. But I don't know if you're like me. I strive for some form of simplicity, because that's all I can cope with, is to simplify this complex and complicated life and complex and complicated relationships. And so my thinking is to shop around, find and look at all that there is available out there in the world of wisdom, but to find moments with yourself and in yourself to contemplate your own qualities, your own strengths, your own deep wisdom that lies as a pool at the very, very epicenter of who you are, like a beautiful lake that forms at the epicenter of a volcano. Some of the most beautiful lakes in this world are at the top of a volcano, with all of that power underneath and all of that force and heat. But the lake is just so beautiful and so calm. And so it's like even the eye of the storm. Look at all that chaos that comes with tornadoes and hurricanes. And what's at the very, very epicenter? Stillness and calm and wisdom. That's where it's all held in a vault for you to access, because it's yours. You've earned it. You've paid the dues for it. And it's not to be just bandied around and given to any old, Tom, Dick or Harry. It's yours. It's a treasure at the very epicenter of who you are. The still, silent place of the external chaos. The still lake at the top of a volcano. It's yours. And you can access it any time. But we have to choose to. Like I chose to that time, when I decided that I wasn't going to have my life spoiled by some coward, by some shadow in the night that tried to steal my joy of this life, my curiosity in this life, my sense of adventure in this life and wonderment. Because this life is filled with wisdom and wonderment at every turning, no matter how difficult or painful it might seem. There is something at the epicenter, the alchemy that can turn it into gold. But we have to honor ourselves enough to find that still, silent place where the treasure is buried in us, the wisdom, the self-compassion, the kindness, the love, the self-belief, the self-knowing. That's all we're looking for, is the map to guide us back to ourselves, not to become someone, not to learn how, but to remember. And I have to say that I couldn't have done all of this without a more formal, for want of a better word, choice over the last 35 years. I've which is more than half my life, and certainly more than half my conscious life, I've aimed to be the archaeologist of myself. And I chose a more spiritual, conscious spiritual journey to be the archaeologist and dig deep to find the treasures that have been buried under so much dirt and dust of life that others had kind of, backpedaled over me, or, thrown spade loads of dirt or rubbish or mud or whatever. And I always knew that there was sort of something in there. So I had to make a conscious choice, like we do when we want to lose weight or we want to get fit. We find ways to get that support because we know that we can feel better than we do physically. And so also the spirit calls out. I think that's what pain is the spirit calling out that you have the capacity to go higher than what you're experiencing. I think pain is functioning on too low a level of consciousness, where we've brought ourselves down to a basic common denominator in order to belong, in order to feel loved. And that's pain. Whereas I remember meeting a wonderful, wonderful theatre director once. He's very well known in this world. He's very, very old now. But I was with a company, and I'm a company person. I like to feel that family, company, harmony. But everybody was having these kind of values that were undermining the quality of our productions. And I said to him, what do I do? Do I bring myself down to a lower level so I can be a good company member, or do I keep my standards up here so that the work I produce is much of better quality, but it separates me from my colleagues, my friends? And he said, never ever lower yourself down to a basic denominator. Keep your standard high and let others come up to you. So it was okay in theory. I loved the thought of it, and I always tried to maintain my standard and hope that that would inspire or encourage other people. But I needed, with my spiritual self, in order to understand the pain I was experiencing as a form of separation from self, which was worse than separation from others. So I have been on a spiritual journey, and I'm really grateful to that because it's given me a kind of a manual. And when I am really struggling, I have access to what I call a higher or a more pure or a more unconditional consciousness. And that's very, very important to me. It's like having a companion and a friend. Some people might call God, or it's not a religious concept, but it's something that is very important to me. And through that, I've learned to understand tools that have helped me as well in the moment. And there's wonderful tools like there's 8 powers, like the learning, trying to understand when's the power to walk away from a situation, or the power to pack up my thinking and say, look, enough of this, or the power to face a situation and be strong in the face of that and evolve out of it. And but I do think the greatest power is the power that we finally tap into when we reconnect with the self. The separation from self is the greatest loneliness. So self-compassion, self-kindness, self-love is remembering who I am, not what people have told me who I am, not what other people's opinion of me is, or society, culture, but returning back to this place of self and that can create miracles and deep, deep changes in my relationships and my responses with other people. Now I'm just going to have a look at the time because it's just after 5 past, and I'd like to just check in with you and see if there's anything that you'd like to ask or any insights that you have. So is that possible? Can we do that?
Yes, that would be lovely. I think if people could unmute yourselves, and if you have a question to ask Chrissy, or given a comment to me, it would be great.
Pratibha, I'm not sure. It's Rehanna. I'm not sure if you're able to see my hand is up.
So what's your name?
It's Rehanna.
Rihanna, lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too, Chrissy, and thank you for that amazing story and the deep wisdom that's come with it. Having been through the experience you described of deep trauma.
There you are.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Thanks, Pratibha. Chrissy, having described that experience of deep trauma, and given kind of the constant, particularly in South Africa, the constant trauma that so many are surrounded by. And I'm dealing with a young adult son who, through a very traumatic invasion of our home experience and a number of other traumas, is now struggling with his mental state. Any advice for how one can heal trauma without the conventional kind of let's go to the meds? Thanks, Chrissy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for such a deep and significant question. I feel very humbled in the face of your experience. And there's no one answer. There's no straightforward answer, as much as we would love that. There's not even a manual that was really, there's not even a manual that you can just turn to page 42 and look and find the reference. It's life, the journey of life, that is our greatest manual, and your experiences and your insights and your deep inner knowing is going to guide you to a certain understanding and inevitable response. But it's really hard to access that when there's panic, trauma, shock, fear. They're emotions that drive us into the fight and flight, you know, the part of the brain, the amygdala, that goes into terror. It's and the human state is very complex at this stage of history, because there's also a great deal of love and kindness and good intent for him that lies at the very seat of all of this as well. That's the platform from which you're coming from, and why you're even asking this question. It's when mental health starts coming into the story as well, and medication and the chemical interference, because we are chemistry. I mean, the physical self is made up of such intricate chemistry that when we start to reconfigure that chemistry through medications or drugs or, you know, other input that reconfigures the chemistry, it makes it all very volatile and unpredictable. And that's when we start calling in professionals, because you have to stay safe. You have to get advice from professionals. You have to learn skills, management skills. So all of these things are necessary and very, very important. There has to be, within the panic, fear, shock, trauma that is permeating every thought, every reaction, every thinking, there has to be a quiet room in the self that is a no-go zone where you return to do your research. I don't think, from my experience, it's really possible to repair the human spirit on from a physical approach or a physical intervention. We can help the physical, we can even help the mental flare-ups on a physical level. But the human spirit in crisis, which is what depression is, violence, anger, it's the human spirit in crisis. It has to be addressed spirit to spirit. The vibrational energy has to be the frequency with which we are working at with that other person or those circumstances has to be turned up. And then we have to start, okay, we have to start doing some research on that level of how can I start to respond to his spirit, his soul in crisis, because that's what he will feel. That's where the slow turning of the wheel begins to happen. But it's like holistic medicine. It works much slower than a kind of an injection or a pill. Holistic medicine, the soul state, it takes longer, but it has a more significant impact. So I would be doing some research for your own inner strengthening, because you are holding the flame here, and you have to take great care of yourself and your spirit. Otherwise, when the spirit and the subtle bodies that surround our physical body start to break down, then physically we become very unwell, and then we become very dependent on medicines and medical procedures. They have to work hand in hand. And maybe Raksha can give you some insight about that, and Pratibha as well. But it has to come from a soul state. And that's a bigger conversation than perhaps we can have here. But it's soul to soul. He is a soul. He is a spirit. Inside all of this chaos is a beauty, is a something that is calling out. And again, being the alchemist, the archaeologist of the human spirit, find one little quality in him, even one point of beauty in him that you can start to fan the flame, I mean, and grow it. How the communication, how you speak with him, how you speak to yourself, all of this is very much part of the bigger picture. But you can't take on the big picture at this stage. You have to start working on the little threads. And I believe, you speak to someone else that's maybe comes from more of a medical professional space, and I can talk more, I suppose, from a soul space. That's what conflict is. That's one of the things I learned when I studied conflict resolution, is it's often fear-based, the spirit, the soul in crisis, who lashes out and wants to hurt others because it's hurting. Anyway, let's just get back to what you think about that, and if that's, giving you any support at all.
So Chrissy, thank you. It helps a lot. I mean, interestingly, I only got the message for this call about an hour ago, and then it just felt like the perfect place to be. And I've chosen 2 candles to light, but this particular one that says be in love with your life every minute of it, and when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance, wouldn't take light. And the one that's asking the prayer for serenity did. So that helps tremendously, actually.
Yeah,
And
right. And I said you're the one that fans the flame.
yeah.
You know, so you have to take good care of yourself as well. What is your oxygen that keeps the flame strong? And you need to take a little time out in that special room of yours, that which is inside you, to remind yourself and ask yourself and tap into that treasure of wisdom that's innately in you. I can see it in your face. I can see it in your eyes. And reach out to those that are going to nurture and support that part of you as well.
Chrissy, there's a question on chat from Tracy Mills. You talk about discovering a roadmap to connecting with your higher consciousness, to who you really are. Can you please tell us more about how we discover this roadmap? And then someone else said, if I can add on to that, to getting back from self-separation, what causes self-separation, and taking a journey back to one with self?
Yeah. Such beautiful questions. What a wonderful, aren't women amazing? Such a great group of people. Yes, the separation from self, first of all, and what causes it. I think it starts at a very young age. I mean, I have this amazing capacity to remember when I was a tiny baby, and that was a long time ago, I can tell you, and it's getting longer. I remember being a tiny baby in a bassinet or the pram. I remember I was lying there on my back, and there were these adult faces looking in at me, and I remember thinking, what are they looking at? And I thought, oh, that's right, they think I'm a baby. So I had this kind of awareness that I was a baby and I had to be a baby. And growing up, especially in my generation where it was still a little bit conservative and Victorian, and a child had to be seen and not heard, you play a part. And you play a part right from, Shakespeare said this about, all the world's a stage and we all play our parts. And he talked about the progress that we make till we kind of get really old. But we play this part, and which is fine. We all play parts. We play lots of different roles, especially women. There's an amazing amount of, if you drew on a piece of paper, you and all the different roles that you play, the parts that you play in your life, you can see why we get separated from who we actually are, because we start to believe the parts, the roles that we play. Some have more importance than others. Some hold within that role a lot of demands from other people to keep you in that role and to keep you like in resin so that you don't change. I remember my mother having she had a Renaissance kind of a rebellion at 85. And she stood up to my father and said, I'm not going to cook your meals anymore. I'm sick of, I don't want to be in this role. She stood up to him at 85. And he said, but you've got wifely duties to me. And she said, well, basically you can stick your wifely duties. And she said, well, I don't want to. And he said, I don't know what's happened to you. You're not the woman I married. And I remember standing with her, and she's 85. And so it's never too late. But I remember saying to her, I see you. I'm so proud of you. I know what you're doing. You're reclaiming yourself. And I'm so proud of you. And she burst into tears. And I held her and she said, you're the only one. She said, everyone thinks I've lost it or I've got dementia or something. And she said, You're the only one, and it's really hard. And the family were just sort of thinking, oh, what's happened to her? But what she was doing was that she was reclaiming herself. She had listened to the small voice in her. She had watched how I lived my life. She said, I watch how you are with people, and I learned from you. I didn't know she was doing all of that until she told me. So she was reclaiming herself right up to the last minute. And the next, she lived another 7 years to 92. And in that time, she still kept trying to free herself within the constraints that her generation and the life that she had set up allowed. But I tell you, when she died or flew away out of this body, I was there, she was in my arms, and when she left, she was free. She was just so liberated because she had done this work. So her death, her moving on, was just so easy, because she had found a part of herself that went beyond the roles. So I think the map back home to the self, I think the map, and I'm talking about this in the moment, you know, I haven't got a book here or a manual, so bear with me if I'm a bit awkward in my response. But I think the map is formed from life's experiences and how we've responded. Sometimes, you know, I remember someone saying to me once, you've got to learn to forgive yourself, Chrissy. And I didn't even know I needed that. I didn't know I needed self-forgiveness, but someone said, you have to forgive yourself. And I thought, well, what do I need to forgive? And I thought, you know what I need to forgive most was that I wasn't there for myself. I didn't stand up for myself against some, you know, pretty self-absorbed people that wanted to exploit me or wanted something from me. And I didn't know how to say, you know, get nicked. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to represent myself. And so I've learned to forgive myself for that. That's self-compassion, forgiving the self for not being there for the self, protecting the self. And even now, you know, to forgive myself when I don't perhaps, you know, rise to the occasion. Say, it's okay, Chrissy. And I think that's the map, is that life's experiences keep guiding us back home to the self if we choose that. If we go, okay, I stuffed up this time. It's okay. It's all right. It's part of the learning. It's part of the journey. Just keep moving, and not to sort of stand still. I mean, it's a treasure hunt. A treasure hunt, somewhere on that map is the treasure, and the treasure is you. But you want to keep moving. Even when we play a board game, we love it when we keep moving. We throw the dice, or we get, wow, got, you know, double numbers, and I can move further. So as you just keep moving, okay, you get the, you know, back to start in the board game, but you just keep finding your way and not lose sight of where you want to be, who you want to be. What sort of old person do you want to be? How do you want to be? Like my mother, when she left and moved on. And they're the choices you make, and that's the map that will guide you. That's, yeah, I think that's, I mean, you'll have other answers, and I'm sure as many of you sitting out there going, yeah, well, I think the map is also this, and I think it could be that. And that's great. And maybe you'll get a chance to share that with each other in the groups, or even just with yourself. Keep asking the questions and finding the answers, or just keep moving. Don't let anyone, anything, especially yourself, put you in resin and hold you. Because the map is a volatile, alive, like Google Maps. You know, you go up in the sky on Google Maps and you can see the earth. You can see all the wonderful hills and mountains and seas, and, you know, from the up above. It's how they create maps, is from going up above. Okay. Does that help? Does it, does that cast any light on your questions?
There's just one more question. There's a comment, separation from the self is the greatest loneliness. So true. And then the other question that's on the group, I generally get upset when there is injustice. How do I deal with this?
Whoa, that's my nemesis. I've never been given injustice. Oh. I think you're asking the wrong person here. I just get upset. That's it. And then I have to come back and do the repairs afterwards. But I find that really hard. I've never understood it. I've never understood racism. I've never understood prejudice. I've never understood, well, I just don't understand man's inhumanity, well, you know, human inhumanity to human. I just don't understand injustice. I think it comes from arrogance, and, you know, it comes again from a weaker human quality, and we give it so much power. I'm still aghast at how we give weak, unpleasant, kind of, don't want to use the word bad or evil, but, you know, really low frequencies, so much power. So all I can do is be the wise one and observe, and where I can make a difference, I do, and where I can't, I have to just be humble enough to accept that it's out of my hands. But where I can, I remember, you know, this is one of the things I'm challenged by, because they say the greatest evil is to do nothing. And so there's so many times where I feel overwhelmed by human cruelty to this planet, to animals, to each other, to children. You know, I get so overwhelmed by it that I can't fix it. So what I have to do is focus on what I can do and what I do have influence over, and I strengthen that. And I try not to have any injustice in my own life. That's all I'm responsible for at this moment, is how am I in the world? I'll wipe myself out, which you know, it's so easy to do, trying to point out other people's injustices, until I can strengthen myself and I can speak from a place that's wise. It's from that place of the still lake on the volcano. If I become the volcano, everybody's going to run. But if I can be the still lake and come from that place, then people might listen. And I just have to be an example, really. And then mirror. People get a mirror when you are leading your life with the values that you aspire to, and that are so important for that connection to yourself. Then then other people watch. We're all voyeuristic. We're all voyeurs. We all watch each other. It's why we love television. We love film. We love, you know, watching each other on the bus. Everybody checks each other out. We love magazines. We love looking at each other, because we learn from each other. And basically, there's not a great standard that we're all looking at and learning from. So you become that, and you'll stand out like a light in the dark. You will be that flame that's there in front of you now. You will be the flame in the darkness of injustice. Yeah. So don't underestimate yourself and what you're capable of. Find that divinity in you and that divine spirit, and connect with energies that have that same frequency. I have to sit myself every day and sit quietly and connect to a higher frequency than my own or anyone I know. I have to keep the company of that high frequency, a high soul that is there in our life 24 hours a day, like the sun is. The sun sets, but it's on the other side of the world somewhere. It never goes. And there's a frequency that we can tune into that is with you 24 hours a day, every day of your life. And that is where you're never alone. It's just finding access to it, the portal to go through and be inspired by, remember what's possible by keeping that company, whether it's meditation, prayer, it's being in nature and tuning into that pure frequency. You just amaze yourself, and everyone else around you will be changed in some way. So
thank you so much, Chrissy. And it's really been so wonderful sharing the depth that you have shared with. And many are really appreciating your authenticity and allowing yourself to be vulnerable to share your deep insights. And so much that has come up now in the last hour and a bit, but that impact of choice, pausing, and approaching myself with kindness. And can I congratulate myself and convert difficult situations into situations of learning? I loved the image of the archaeologist. And so can I dig deep to find those treasures of my human spirit and honor myself enough to find my epicenter? And to look at that critical voice. And I loved how you shared, I wouldn't dare allow anyone to speak to myself as I may have spoken to myself many a time. And so really now in this time, the next half an hour, we want to especially delve more deeper from all that you've heard from Chrissy. It is a chance to now become your archaeologists whilst chatting to like-minded beings in small groups of 3. We will now approach a few reflective questions. And as we look at these questions, it will give us the chance to be our own archaeologists, so that we can find that wisdom, find those treasures that we have practiced. Like Chrissy shared, it's not that I have to create them, but I have to remember them, and that they are there, and it's deep within. And so like that still lake over the volcano, can I create that still lake, that wisdom now? And so we would like you now to reflect on 3 questions. On our screen, we have some reflective questions so that we can appreciate the depth of what we've heard, and we can personalize it for ourselves. So before you, there are some questions, and if you can take 10 minutes, we'll play some soft music if we can. And if you can look at these questions, to take up your pen and page and just look at these questions and your own personal experience. The first is, to be wise is to recognize my original and innate strengths. So that archaeologists, that's finding my treasures. Remember a time in your earliest memories when you had to face a challenging situation. Bring it into your mind. What supported you at that time? Particularly your personal qualities and strengths. What wisdom did you draw from? And the second reflection is, a wise woman trusts, appreciates, and nurtures her strengths. What more can I do to validate, appreciate, and nurture my core strengths? How do I see my strengths to thrive in my current situation, and develop a mantra to help remind you of this wisdom? And so now, over the next few minutes, maybe 7 to 10 minutes, just to personally take time out to look at these questions for yourself, before we then get you into groups. On the chat, there's been such rich sharing whilst Chrissy has been sharing with us. And so in our small groups, we'll get to share our wisdom, our experiences, our insights through our journey with each other. But before we break into groups, can I appreciate these questions personally in my life. And so we'll just play gentle music as you can reflect over the next 7 minutes or so. So thank you all. And now we will automatically be placed into small groups of about 3 so that we can share personally and learn from that collective group. So if you can please put on your video and automatically you'll be randomly put into groups of 3. So if you put on your video, then over the next 20 minutes or so, we can delve deeply into these questions that you've reflected on for yourself personally. And like Chrissy said, this is an honoring of ourselves enough to find our own epicenter. So thank you.
Hello.
Direito aqui. Então, pronto, então os livros entram dessas costas.
Depois daqui para aqui. Então, quantas gente vão ser? Contaste bem?
Daqui para aqui, São Paulo. Daqui para aqui.
Este lado vai ficar vazio, não vai ter nada. Passa aqui no... Então, conta 60, depois o que vai segurar há de ser mais para este lado. Há de ser... Vai terminar aqui, depois vais aumentar qualquer coisa com a proteção.
Sim.
Veja as coisas. Como estou neste programa aqui, também está a cair, rede. Está a cair, rede. Ah, William, no motorista.
Hello, there seems someone to be on the phone.
Yeah. Põe com a pasta assim.
Não, por exemplo, 30 foi aqui.
Maybe you can mute yourself
93,
so that we can have a group
Põe lá com a pasta.
discussion here.
Põe lá com a pasta, então saca. Começa lá em cima. Começa lá em cima.
120. Aqui entra mais um. Aqui entra mais um. O quarto é este. Para mim, tem que ser uma situação.
Começa lá com 2, 3,
4.
4. Então, 1, 2, 3, 4 madeiras vais fazer, é isso?
4 partilhas.
Vais fazer 4 madeirinhas. A madeirinha depois vais pintar de cor branca, da cor da parede.
Para sim, para tentar.
Onde apanhaste essa pasta? Aí. Ok, então estamos à vontade para meter as coisas, né? Porque isto, eu ia querer tirar e meter aí dentro, porque tenho que mudar algumas coisas. Você não tem tempo para mudar isto? Isso aqui para ler.
Para aqui dentro.
Você não me disse que... Você não me disse que vinha.
Mas não mandou mensagem.
Agora.
Não faz surpresa.
Também, mas mandas hoje.
Sim, sim.
Eu não programei isso.
Ontem cheguei tarde.
Ah, nem com chapita, aí tá sucesso. Mas vamos ter muito trabalho. Quando é que podes vir para não te atrasar? Quando? Estava a pensar como continuar. Tiramos este armário para aquele quarto hoje que ele está aqui. Mas temos que tirar tudo que está aqui dentro. Como é que vamos fazer? Ah, estou engano isso aí. Verônica, aquele armário tem que entrar neste quarto. É para deixar aonde? Vamos a falar ainda. Por daqui, pode ser. Então, temos que tirar aquela louça. O que vamos fazer? Vamos pôr em cima da cama? Vamos então. Chapita. Defendamos uma, tem problema. Vamos, abre lá e deixa de falar você. Ele nunca programa pela mim. Oh, é na interface. Digo, xuxu quando ele diz, olha, menina, deixa com manga. Vai então, está aberto ali, vai lá. Está aberto. Não está aberto, não deixa, vai. Não estou adiantando a chamar, né? Não quer intervalo e a mim. Vou adiantar outras coisas aqui no intervalo. Então, eu estava a pensar, levar essas guardar aqui para poder arrumar. Engato aí sobre bucho polícia aí, cuina no chiti. Bucho polícia aí, quando não.
So thank you, ladies. I think we're all back now. And it was really special to be in a smaller group where we could connect and share honestly from our heart, to appreciate ourselves and the treasures from our childhood, and then to bring it to current time and how I can continue to use the learning from childhood, from previous experiences in my current time. And so now I'll invite you to share your personal insights or learning from your conversation and the experience of having this conversation. And then we will ask Chrissy to also then round up before we break at the end. So if you can open up your video and share, it will be wonderful to see your face, so that we can see your face and also hear you, just the insights and the learnings and the experience of after 6 months of lockdown, being in a conversation with the other beautiful women. Thank you. So who would like to go first? We would love to see you and hear you.
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So actually, it was a beautiful experience, and just sharing with somebody your deepest secrets, I think, because just sharing about your traumas, childhood traumas, or even the mature ones, still it's not that easy to share them openly and from the heart. But sharing them and having someone to listen and then appreciate them is really very important. And it's, I think, very healing also. Just to have somebody to listen and to appreciate what you're saying is beautiful. Thank you for that.
And you raised your hand?
Hi there, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Finally. I think I was in two conversations because I was in, I could see your visual, was it Raksha? Where have you gone? Ah, yeah, Raksha.
Yes.
And I could also see somebody else. I was seeing two conversations because I've got my phone. Anyway, I'm just saying the takeaway is to be able to let go and trust that you are protected and guided, and it's cliche, but everything's going to be okay. I think we learn so much of our lessons in our hardest moments. So in this time, I'm in lockdown in London, but I was also diagnosed with cancer at the same time as the COVID. So I've got sort of two layers. So it's been an extremely learning time. But from back in childhood, I just wanted to say that the challenging times, I remember going into the girls' bathroom and looking at myself in the mirror and somehow finding a center and know that I'm protected, because obviously in London in the 60s, experiencing racism for the first time from other children was challenging.
Thank you, Angela. It's wonderful to hear your voice.
I know, finally. I was like miming, trying to remember my sign language.
But really profound sharing. Thank you for that honest sharing from your heart.
Thank
but
you.
It's wonderful, the mantra that you used, to let go and know I am protected. And I'm sure that will continue to protect you through this journey.
Absolutely. I trust.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Não, vem até aqui.
I think
Vem
Leslie
até
Ann,
aqui, parece que morre aqui. Anda cá ver se ele...
Leslie Ann, you want to share?
Então, nós não utilizamos nem essa luzinha daí de dentro, havia uma luzinha aí.
Mas está ligado.
I want
Mas cuidado, se calhar pode apanhar um esticão. Deixa eu ver. Havia uma lampadinha que a gente acendia a luz para ver aí dentro. Mas não há
have a
necessidade de acender luz.
conversation going on
E nem
somewhere.
acendemos. Acendíamos dentro do meu irmão lá do computador. Então,
I
esse
think,
fio também pode sair, este globo também
Getting
pode sair.
live transmission from Mozambique.
Eliminar coisas que a gente não precisa andar a encher. Só
Really?
porcaria.
Yes, yes. Maybe we'll
Está sujo mesmo.
mute everyone, and the one who
Então, limpa ali até elas boiar ali no front. Boiar ali no lixo.
Okay.
Tiba, can you please translate?
All right. Can I go?
Leslie, go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah.
I shared that a childhood trauma that I had, which I always saw as a negative impact on my life, and today I actually saw how my whole life and career emanated from that trauma. That I felt violated, I felt an injustice, and my whole life I devoted to actually dealing with that. But and then I'd never thought of having strengths that actually helped me to survive. But I could see that I had resilience and courage and strength, and that I was able to turn that adversity into something good in my life. But I still suffered depression, anxiety, intense fear, and a disconnect from myself. Which Chrissy spoke about, and a rejection and abandonment of myself. And then I said, looking at the second question, that COVID has been the best thing that's ever happened to me, because during the COVID, the lockdown, I felt myself slipping, and I thought, what can I do to prevent this from happening? And I had listened to Greg Braden speak about the things one can do to change your life, which was you change your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions, or breath, or at least breath, movement, and nutrition. So I decided to do two things. One was breath work, and I started to intensify the practice of meditation, which I had started in 2018, but sort of did in an ad hoc way. And I included that in my daily life in morning and evening. But the big thing for me was taking up walking. When the lockdown dropped and we could walk between 6 and 9, I started to walk. And I went from not being able to walk down my road to doing 10, 12 kilometers a day. But I use the walk as a prayer and meditation walk. I don't just walk, I use it. I go out with an intention, and I pray and meditate on that intention. Most days. Some days I go and my head's a mess and it's dark and it's really ugly. But after the walk, it lightens up. And I have found that amazing things have happened for me. I've got fitter, clearer, and happy. For the first time in my 63 years, feel truly happy in a quiet, grounded, clear way. Happy when I see the sunshine on a tree. Happy when I can put my feet on the ground. It's just changed the way I understand being happy. And for me, that's been the most amazing thing. I'm absolutely grateful for that. And that was just, and how these experiences have gone from my childhood to where I am today, and I can appreciate the strengths I have. What I've learned is the strengths are within me. For part of my life, what a lot of us do is looking for it out there, in terms of career paths and, growth. And for me, it was travel, it was all sorts of things. And now I'm just happy to be contained in myself. And I so appreciated this time. I actually landed in a room with Michelle, whom I know very well for very many years, doing the similar work. And that, I think, was also a divine intervention. So thank you to both Michelle and Tracy. Thank you.
So thank you. I can see in the chat many saying that they were amazingly paired with people who had similar broad experiences. And it was so great to
Aksha, I was
validate.
just going to say you did some alchemy there. I don't know what it was, but there was alchemy in putting the groups together, or if that was Chrissy, but it's certainly, definitely. I think if I just share briefly, and I'm sorry to interrupt yours, but I was
great.
like, absolutely, just overwhelmed by the people that you put together. So, and the way it happened. I think what I take from it is that we often choose the people that we want, and actually every person that we meet has, there are points of connection. And I think during lockdown, this need for human interaction, as much as it can't be physical, but we kind of tended to be with the people that we know and kind of interact with regularly. But it's just, yeah. So thank you for allowing us to actually just expand this. I've made 3 new friends. So thank you for that.
So wonderful.
There, Kaz is laughing. So I do hope you have people's contact details, because we're definitely connecting after this as well.
And actually, it was a random computer program, but actually, I think as energy beings, we draw the similar-minded energy beings into our circle. And for me as well, I was paired off with 2 others and similar experience. So it's quite wonderful, the magic that happens when we come together. So anyone else wants to share?
And just say,
Yes, I would like to. I would like to say the magic in our group. It was Belinda, Lindelwa, and Linda. So we all had Lind in our names. And the same thing, we felt that there was such a thread through our experiences, and that really made us feel how special women are, and that we face these challenges, but we have these amazing abilities to rise above the situations. And I just wanted to say that it's very special also to listen to my sisters who are sharing their experiences. Angela, my heart goes out to you, because I've also walked the path of cancer, and I know that it takes a lot of courage, so I salute you. And it's lovely to see Rehana again, an old friend. So thank you all for this lovely opportunity.
Thank you, Belinda.
For me, what is astounding, and since lockdown, I've had an opportunity to have the privilege of engaging groups online. And as we said, it's incredible how you get paired, but how the universe draws you towards certain people that tap into your pain or share wisdom. And I think what it just affirms for me each and every time is that we're wired for connection. Our automatic nervous system is wired for connection. And the only way that we can be there for each other is to show up. Sometimes we don't have to say anything, but just to feel connected, supported, loved, a place of belonging. It's the biggest gift we could ever give each other. And I really appreciate each and every one of you for providing that space for healing. Thank you.
So, anyone else would like to share?
Hi, Michelle.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
ahead, Michelle.
Michelle and then Rohini.
Okay, thank you, Pratibha. Yeah, in our group, I didn't really get to the second question, but as we were sharing, I just have some reflections. And I want to say that appreciating and nurturing our strengths isn't always easy, because what I found that it means stepping into my own authority and my authenticity. And sometimes that means going against the grain. And that's not always easy, but I think over the last while, I've been learning how to come back to myself and how to put myself first. And so, yeah, that's been really key for me during this lockdown period. And I think in our group also, a lot of the same themes of stopping, breathing, letting go. And for me also to be very conscious of my own gifts of healing and what I can share with others. So my strengths, drawing on my strengths is not just for myself. My drawing on my strengths is also being able to be in a better position to share and to give to others. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Rohini, you wanted to share?
Yeah, thank you, Raksha, and thank you to the amazing group of women that's here. And it's just a great experience, and especially from Rihanna and Prabhashni. I think it was just the connection. It wasn't even necessary to do introductions, but I think it's just the connection. And I picked up from Rihanna such an amazing strength, just in that lovely, quiet, composed face, and Prabhashni, the energy. And it's I think it's also what we're wanting in the space we are currently. A week later or a month later, maybe, circumstances change and you'll pick up different things. So it was just a case of what were we looking for now, and how would you take that energy going forth? But what I felt and what we picked up, I think from what I picked up from the group, was just this amazing way in how to embrace each other and carry each other through at any point in time. But I also want to just quickly say thank you, Raksha, and I want to tell everybody, because I am so proud. I love showing off. Raksha is my ex-student. I taught her, I think it was for 4 years in her life, grade 8, 9, or 9, 10, 11, 12, or something like that. She was my outstanding student. So every time I get a chance to be with Raksha in an audience, I have to praise her. And I just love the work she's doing. Thank you, Raksha.
Thank you, ma'am. Good. This is my English teacher from school, and many other accomplishments, Rohini. So, yes. So it's really so beautiful to be in this gathering, isn't it? Especially when we put on our gallery view and just see the amazing women and what happens when women come together. And so really the aim of this morning session was to appreciate who we are and our strengths, and to grow that, to remember it, and to bring it forth in our life. But just to close this session, I would like to now invite Chrissy to end the session with some words and some sharing, and then we can have a meditation to close the session if nobody else wants to share before closure. Is anyone else wanting to share, or is it okay that we close the session with Chrissy's experience and her wise words of wisdom? I know I keep telling you those things, Chrissy. But great. So if nobody else puts their hand up, so Chrissy, you can take over, and we'll end with a meditation. Thank you.
Well, I just think the power of the gathering is a mighty force. And I think it's really, really important that even when you're alone and life throws things at you, to remember you're not alone, that this force, this power is always present. And when you talk about the strength, you know, it's just a great thing to recognize the strength in yourself and the strength in others. And I think when you're in that, when we were in those little breakout rooms together and you saw wonderful things in someone else, when we see something in someone, it's usually because that quality is in us as well, whether it's someone you know or someone you admire from a distance, someone who inspires you, you know, whether it's certain daddies or certain, you know, great leaders or certain friends. There's a quality that you see in them that you are in awe of, or you're in deep respect of, and it's because it's in you. Otherwise you wouldn't even notice it. So that's a great it's a great insight into who you are when you look at others and their beautiful qualities. So the power of the gathering, and when women come together, there's such a healing energy. It's you can see why we have, as the females, the mothers, the women of this world, we have a responsibility to reclaim our power and empower others and empower this world for the future. So we have that, the responsibility is calling us. We have been called, and I can see and hear with this group that you're listening. And so I think connection is really, really important. What else did I hear? Yes, the power of the gathering. There's someone said something that made me, oh yeah, the strength that I have. Yeah. Wanting things. Oh yeah, that's a really interesting thing as well about we always want things to be other than what they are. I think somebody mentioned something around this, and yeah, it's a humbling state to be in when we can accept things. Okay, this is what they are, and what am I going to do about it, or what am I capable of doing about it, rather than wanting always things to be other than what they are. And I remember earlier on in my career in the arts, the director I had, I was working with, we were on tour. I remember backstage one day, he said, "Chrissy, are you happy?" He was going through a very difficult time in his own personal life. He said, "Are you happy?" And nobody's ever asked me that before. And I said, well, I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, I think I am naturally quite a happy person. And he said, "Why?" And I said, well, I think it's because I tend to look at and focus on what I have got, not what I haven't got. And I don't think he's remembered that over the years, but I've never forgotten it. And I always know that when I'm unhappy, I'm focusing on what I haven't got, or what I want, or what I want things to be other than what they are. And the happiness comes from just appreciating what I have got. And I'm not sure whether it was Lucinda or Leslie who spoke before about happiness. It was such a great experience because of the simplicity of it. You know, to appreciate what you have got. You can put your feet on the earth and you can go walking and you can exercise, or you can choose, really. So I found that great, greatly inspiring, being in a severe lockdown here. We're only allowed 1 hour a day, but some people are really making the most of it and some people are choosing not to. So thank you for that inspiring little message on happiness and converting a very difficult situation and a limited options into discovery and possibilities. So thank you all. Thank you for having me here in your little worlds tonight, or today at your time. It's evening probably there now. It's nighttime here, and it's just been a joy. I was so looking forward to meeting you all and being part of this retreat, and it's just been fabulous. Thank you, and I really, from my heart, I really, really wish you well and deep, deep experiences of Om Shanti. I am peace. So I'll see you on the journey. Thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. Chrissy also has recorded amazing meditations. And would you guide us through a meditation now to close this session from all the reflections?
Yeah. I turn my face to the warmth of the sun. The sun that lights up the darkest corners of my soul. The light, the eternal, divine light. Constant presence that guides me, shining light on the path back home to my divine, powerful, resilient, free self. I am never alone on this pilgrimage to truth, power, and freedom. Magnificent companions accompany me on this journey. Holding me when I feel weak. Shining a light when I can't see. Whispering secrets long forgotten that remind me who I truly am. Filling my heart with hope and possibilities. I am loved eternally. I sail my little boat on the river of love. Sailing with a gentle breeze, filling my sails that guide me ever forward toward the ocean of love. The ocean of love that holds me, supports me, currents of the ocean of love guide me to the eternal shore of peace. I feel the breeze of peace gently caressing my spirit. I am free and I fly into the depths of all that I am. My wings carry me across the ocean of love. Carrying me on the oxygen of divine light. That knows me as I truly am. I am loved. I am safe. I am protected. I am never alone. I am wrapped in eternal and imperishable love. A love that makes all things possible. Returning me to my deep, wise, ancient self. Filled with all the qualities I need. I am loved. I am safe. I am eternally protected under the canopy of divine love and protection. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you, especially to Chrissy for being with us, and to each one of you for being with us this morning. And just hold that feeling that Chrissy's just created now as we leave for a break, and we will return at 2 p.m. to explore all that we have ventured and discovered this morning through a creative session with Shanti Govender. And so we look forward to seeing each one of you at 2 p.m. And we'll see you then. Is there any other announcements, Pratibha? We good?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Chrissy. This was divine. It was really, I think, what many of the participants would have felt was needed for the heart. So thank you so much for your precious time and being with us so wholeheartedly. I think when things change, we're going to bring you here physically so that we can all give you a hug. Yes, a big hug. But yeah, this afternoon session, if everyone could log on at 2, and we have a wonderful number of facilitators that will take us through a creative process. And so really it's an opportunity to experience something different and not just interactiveness, but also to connect with something deep within us and give expression to that, which I think is such an important part of our own healing process. So please log on at 2. And the other thing is that if any of you hadn't registered, what we would like you to do is when you log on at 2, actually before you log off, can you just in the chat indicate which modality you'd like to join? So we have art and drawing, we have storytelling, we have movement, we have poetry, we have singing, and we have photography. So any of those, if you hadn't registered, then please just put it on the chat because we'll break you up according to those groups. Okay, so thank you everyone. And usually at our retreats, people enjoy the lunch and the food and the teas, but we can't do it physically, but just know that virtually, and our intention is that you have a wonderful lunch, nourished and full and happy. So we'll meet again at 2. Thank you, Shanti.
It's gorgeous to see you, and to Belinda. It was so lovely seeing Belinda too. So bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
I thank you, everyone. Om Shanti.
Thank you, everybody.
Om Shanti.
I can hardly express my mixed emotions and my thoughtlessness. After all